Have you ever grown tomatoes? You know how it is when the tomato plant starts to fill up with all those little green tomatoes and like the first one starts to ripen and it starts to turn red? That's where we are with this week's full moon in Aries Libra. We've got the first little tomato starting to ripen. We're starting to see that our hard work has paid off and that the expansion promised by Jupiter might actually happen. Admire your tomato plant. Love your tomato plant. The tomatoes are coming, and soon you'll have so many tomatoes you won't know what to do with them, and you'll be begging people to take the tomatoes because it'll be dropping tomatoes everywhere. So let's take a look at this week's free weekly tarot reading and see what we have in store. Let's look at the full moon. The full moon has got quite a bit going on. We have the full moon in Libra Aries, and that will be on the 11th, late on the 10th, early on the 11th, depending where you are. The sun in Aries opposite the moon in Libra. And we've got other planets involved. So on the end with the sun, we've got Uranus. And on the end with the moon, we've got Jupiter. So this Jupiter-Uranus opposition is pulled into this full moon. So let's take a look. Starting over here on this side, we've got, that's the sun side. This is the moon side. They're opposite. And then this is kind of a final card. So on the sun side, we've got strength. Oh my goodness. We've got strength and the world. This is, I like this strength card for the sun in Aries because it just shows, I feel like it shows the power of the sun and the power of you to be who you're called to be. And why I say who you're called to be is because the world is there. And that kind of represents Uranus in this full moon. So the thing is with our development, it's like for Uranus calls us to be who we really are and to step out into truly who we are. And, other people can like it or not like it. And it's like you have to learn to be comfortable and be unique and be your authentic self. And that, that has a little bit of an Aries quality to it as well, because Aries, acts first and asks questions later type of thing. So, these cards are very in support of that. It's like, being uniquely you and stepping out and doing what needs to be done and what you want to express and how you want to express it in the world. Now, on the moon side over here, we have the moon and Jupiter in Libra. So we have the seven of Pentacles, and we have the Daughter of Wands or the Page of Wands. So with this is where I was talking about at the beginning about growing tomatoes. The first little tomato is starting to appear. The first tomatoes are starting to appear. And so the harvest is coming. You may have gotten your first little tomato. And with this Daughter of Wands, with this Ouroboros and a stick sticking through it, what that reminds me of is making a knot in a thread. So with this Jupiter in Libra, it's definitely been a little bit of a mixed blessing kind of thing with the opposite Uranus, because it's been a little too much, and it's going to continue to be a little too much at times, where it's like there's so much expansion and so much going on that sometimes it's too much of a good thing is not a good thing. You can definitely have too much. So I feel like with this, we've had the Jupiter retrograde. It's still going to be, Jupiter will continue to be retrograde for a little while longer. So we have time to kind of review where and how we've expanded and to think about how we're going to use that expansion and what we're going to continue forward with and what we aren't. So that, like I said, that Daughter of Wands card reminds me of just a knot. We just put a knot in the thread so that it won't all come loose. Because, you know, with that Jupiter, it's kind of like the high roller. It's like you can win, 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 and then boom, you lose it all. So we've put a knot. Okay, so where are you putting your knot? What are you gonna stand firm with and keep, and how are you gonna keep stitching? And how are you gonna finish that embroidery, or how are you gonna finish that sweater? So that's kind of how where we are. And like I said, hopefully you've gotten the little bit of encouragement. You've gotten the little bit of reward, or the sign that, hey, it's starting to pay off. It's starting to happen. So that's the full moon. There you go. You know, be yourself and keep on trucking, because it's coming through. Now, the final card I pulled was kind of an overall card for this full moon, and that is the Eight of Swords in the center here. So as you can see, we've got a butterfly getting ready to emerge from the chrysalis here. And, you know, once again, that's that hope that this is going to work out, that the flowers are going to bloom, and you're going to get the reward, you're going to get the harvest. Now, the Eight of Swords part of it is, this has a lot to do with being hemmed in by your thinking, where you're having too small of a perspective, or your thoughts around something, you keep repeating the same set of thoughts, and you need to put some new thoughts in there. You need to get something new going with your perspectives or your thought patterns. So, for example, last night I woke up in the middle of the night, and I kept having these terrible thoughts about failure, and things are not going to work out, and why am I thinking this is going to happen, because it's never going to happen. And I was just kind of like, luckily I was able to kind of recognize those thoughts as kind of outside myself, and I'm like, okay, what are you trying to tell me here? You know, not really sure on that part, but that's what I'm saying. It's kind of like you're being besieged by some point of view, some perspective, some repetitive thoughts, something that's going on. So you need to recognize that and go, okay, I'm bigger than that. You know, that's the Jupiter part. It's like, I'm bigger than that. I'm more than that. You know, that's the Uranus part. I'm the unique me, and I have to be me, because that's the next step in my development before I can do anything else. So I've also been reading The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks, which I highly recommend. I have the audiobook. And so far throughout the book, you know, he does this whole thing where he reframes problems in your life as being part of an upper limit problem, as your inability to accept joy and happiness into your life, and being able to expand into that. So, you know, where is your upper limit problem? Where are you thinking that you can't expand into something? Where are you thinking that that's too good to be true and it's not for you? That's where you need to look, because that's where your transformation is going to come from. And like I said, you should have little inklings of success and things coming to you. But that's your work, is you need to look at your framework, your mental framework, and see where you're being held back. Now for the Mercury retrograde part. Mercury goes retrograde in Taurus, and we'll back into Aries at one point, then turn around and come back. And that starts today, Sunday, the 9th, Mercury retrograde. So I pulled 3 cards for what the retrograde is about. And I also pulled one of these cards. This is like this, it's called the Creative Whack Pack. See? The Creative Whack Pack. And I pulled one card, and I'm going to read it. It's called Look to the Past. So interestingly, retrogrades are time for reviewing and possibly reviewing the past. So it says, history is loaded with creative analogies. Napoleon marching on Moscow is really just project management. Mao waging a guerrilla war is like an ad campaign. Pick a culture from the past. How would someone from that time deal with your issue? How about from your own personal history? What were you doing 10 years ago that might be useful to you now? What ideas from history can you apply to a current project? So this is reminding us to look to the past and bring ideas from the past and strategies and approaches into the future, and to, check what stuff you've done and see how it might apply to something that you're doing now. Okay, so what we pulled were the strength again. Yes, I put the cards back, I reshuffled, and I got strength again. The 5 of Pentacles and the 8 of Pentacles. So that's 2 8s with the strength and the 8 of Pentacles. So I think with this, this strength card, once again, it's like, for those of you who are perfectionists out there, it's time to love yourself as you are. You have to accept all parts of yourself. You have to love the parts of yourself that aren't perfect. And just know that you're not gonna be perfect ever. So that's the source of your strength, is that you keep going, not that you're perfect. And this 8 of Pentacles is about perfecting your craft. So I just said you're not perfect, but you can always improve. So improve what it is that you do. Really work on improving your skill set, the way you deal with people. Whatever it is that you're working on, make those improvements. And it's a practice. Practice makes perfect, but you're not overall perfect. And then lastly, we have the 5 of Pentacles. So, you've lost some battles along the way. Your life is not perfect. But what do they say with the financial investments? Like past performance doesn't ensure future success, or whatever. Like, so they're just basically saying, hey, if you buy this investment package, or whatever you call it, if it's done very well over the past 3 years, that doesn't mean that's going to continue to do well over the next 3 years. We can't guarantee that. So, you're taking a chance. Same kind of thing. If you haven't done well over the past 3 years, that doesn't mean that you won't do well over the next 3 years. So, once again, I just keep getting this overwhelming message about, looking at those thought patterns and not letting them run the show. Because you'll start thinking the doom and gloom thoughts, and the next thing you know, you're living under a bridge, and you're begging for money every day. And it's just, that's what our mind does. That's what's saying. It woke me up in the middle of the night doing that. I don't know why, but it just did. So just be aware of that, and be aware that, you're moving forward. And also with this 8 of Pentacles, I get the message, mind your own business. So take that for what it's worth. Maybe it means don't compare yourself to other people, or maybe it just means mind your own business. Like, don't be worried about what someone else is doing. Just mind your own business, mind your own store, Open every day when you say you're going to open, and close every day when you say you're going to close. So I'll leave it at that. Happy full moon, and I'll see you next week.